I apologize for the delay on these. I'm gonna be trying to get them out as I record them. I meant to have them all done by now, but the last week has honestly been pretty crazy, and yesterday and today I worked mornings, so I didn't get a chance to do it yesterday because my family does Christmas on Christmas Eve, and then today I got home from work. And my sister and brother-in-law came over and we did Christmas with them, and so now it's 5:30 and I am finally recording this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and a half left to record. So yeah. Wish me luck, and I will have these out either hopefully all by tonight. No guarantee because 4 of them are over 7,000 words, so at least before tomorrow night because I have to do them all tonight. Okay. This is We're the Lucky Ones by Orphan Account. It is 2,613 words. They watch in comfortable silence as it shrinks in the wake of heat, and once it's gone, Shoto makes another, and another, and another. Shoto would make 1,000,000 snowflakes for Eijiro if he could. Shoto doesn't care too much for the winter. He finds his days are cut short, his nights longer, quieter. He spends more time in his room rather than with his friends, favoring solitude over socialization. A lonely time, really. Sure, the holidays were a time meant to spend with the family or significant other if he had one. And many would think he looks forward to the colder months of December with how often he gazes outside the windows once winter solstice arrives. But Shoto does not, in fact, favor the winter season as they'd think. It's much too cold, too quiet, too boring for his tastes. Frigid weather brings frost to the windows, and thick, chunky sweaters as a more appropriate replacement for blankets. Tea is favored during this time, hot naturally, but Shoto allows his to cool before he takes his first sip. Hot cocoa is another prized treat amongst his peers, with all its vivid warmth and sweet taste during these sullen drab weeks. Like tea, however, Shoto drinks it cold, much like the weather beyond the frosted pane before him. It's quite fascinating, really, how slow the world seemingly becomes simply due to a drop in temperature. The sky is much the same shade of cerulean, and the clouds the same pure stretch of white cast into its sea. All that really changed is the temperature, but one would seldom find any living creature daring to prowl about a desolate winterscape, if not the casual businessman late for his morning coffee. Most favored the indoors, hibernated as did the animals, or as close as a human could get to doing so. Shoto was much the same in that regard, stiff and unmoving, lest he risks the bite of chill that would seep through the peephole of his jumper. Sweaters never seem long enough during these times. Shoto sighs into his palm and curls his socked feet further under himself as he continues to watch those lonely clouds drift about the sky, mingling and interlacing with another. "Do you think it might snow this year?" he overhears, followed by an uncertain, "I'm not sure." And no one could predict so, honestly. Cities don't often get too much snow during the winter as places like Hokkaido would, and if it did happen to snow in the city, it's likely it'll all melt away before it could really stick. That's hardly enough time to pack a snowball or build a frosty friend to dress up, and Shoto knows that's what his peers look forward to the most. But he unfortunately doesn't see the fun in such childish activities. Snowballs hurt when packed tightly enough, and he's been around a certain blonde long enough to sense the malice radiating from the rounded block of ice in his orange-gloved hand. Snowmen looked like like people and more like misshapen spheres stacked upon each other, and he sees no appeal in the creation of ice sculptures when he can do the same with half of his work. No, Shoto doesn't care too much for the winter, but he still gazes out the window in silent hope that snow will soon fall. Cold radiates off the window pane, and Shoto shuffles back a bit so it wouldn't bleed into his quarter zip. It doesn't bother him, not with the workings of his quirk and all, but the drowsy redhead tucked into his left side would likely be less than appreciative if Shoto allowed the cold to heckle him in some way. Eijiro's half-empty cup of cocoa rests on the windowsill, thin wisps of steam rising from it to look away at the frost attempting to blight the bottom half of the snow of the window. It sweats its exertion, beads of moisture trickling down to settle along the edge of the frame where the slightest bit of frost gathers. Eijiro sighs long and deep, painting the pane in a cloudy white that disperses as readily as it accumulated. The sun wanes now, an indication that their day has come to a close, though it's hardly past 4 in the afternoon. Cerulean gives way to a playful mix of purples and pinks before the brilliance of reds and orange takes center. I hope it does snow, Eijiro murmurs, barely audible to anyone other than Shoto himself. Shoto sees it as a rhetoric thought, idle blabber as fatigue continues to ebb away at Eijiro and his conscious thoughts. If not, I'll make it so, Shoto whispers back. Eijiro huffs, hums. You can't control the weather, babe, he answers. He's right, too, but it doesn't dissuade Shoto from resting his head atop Eijiro's and giving a gentle squeeze to the hand held in his. No, but there's things I can do if it's for you. At this, Eijiro snorts. Sada. He yawns as Shoto turns to press his lips to a crown of red, and from the slight loosening of his grip, Shoto knows he's fighting off the grasp of sleep. Let's head upstairs. No. Eijiro bites off another yawn. Just a little while longer. I'm comfy like this. You'd be more comfortable in bed. Supply Shoto. Eijiro grumbles something. Just 5 more minutes. 5. Okay, 5. Shoto echoes. Really, he plans to give him less than that. It's not like Eijiro would notice when he's teetering off the edge of consciousness. For now, though, he stays rooted to his seat and watches those dreary clouds drift along the horizon. It hadn't been cold enough for snow that year. Shoto's heard rumors and whispers of snowfall sometime during the night whilst they slumbered, but by the time they rose in the morning, most of it had melted away in the warm front that followed. Eijiro had been disappointed that day, the second of the two to wake up, but first to have the news broken to him. It's not often something bothers the redhead enough to pout about, but as for the promised snowfall, or the missed opportunity to witness it, it's something he was looking forward to, where everyone else had come to terms with missing a night flitted with fluffy flakes of snow. Eijiro continued to gaze out the window wistfully, longing for those thick, gray clouds teetering on the edge of a cold rain to sprinkle flecks of white instead. But no amount of wishful thinking could bring about a change of weather, unfortunately. Shoto shares the umbrella as they walk to the trail back to the dorms after class, hand in hand, one naked where the other's clothed in fleece. It rains light, though too heavy to be considered a drizzle, pitter-pattering the roof of the umbrella and gliding down its curved sides in fat droplets. With the little mounds of snow that managed to survive the climb and temperature tucked away in a forgotten alcove just past the vending machines, the shade gives little protection from the gentle pelt of rain withering away at it. What remains will likely form a slip of ice sometime in the night when the temperature falls again. Eijiro pointedly glances away from the small mound of snow, sighing as he squeezes Shoto a little tighter. Shoto often reminds himself there's blessing that comes with wielding two quirks. He may not be as blessed as Midoriya with 6 or 7 manifestations coming from his one, but there's things Shoto can do with his quirk that are solely unique to him. Or maybe it's not entirely unique. There's countless others who wield a quirk similar to his, either ice or fire, hopefully unrelated to him and his family, who could do things he otherwise cannot without a bit of guidance. In comes Yayorozu and her plentiful books on chemistry. Snow is an accumulate. Snow is an accumulate. Snow is an accumulation of packed ice crystals. She reads verbatim, bottom-rimmed glasses resting just above the tip of her nose. Shoto's eyes follow hers as she mumbles to herself and drags the lithe finger down a couple of lines. And what causes those to form is, she trails off, a competition a combination of low temperature and moisture in the atmosphere. She then flips the page and skims quickly. As for the size, most are less than a few centimeters across. Shoto is unsure what comment to make aside from the okay that slips past his lips. She closes the book gently and sets it aside, then curls her finger around the slender handle of her teacup and lifts it towards her mouth. She blows once, twice, then tastes the steep-in waters with a kitten-like sip, grimaces. Yayorozu clears her throat. With that in mind, it should be fairly easy for you to replicate snow with your own. You've already displayed such great power and control over it after all. Shoto ponders and watches her spoon a cup of sugar into her teacup. She pauses. Would you like one? His gaze snaps to his own cup of tea, white, untouched, steam curling within. He doesn't plan on drinking it while it's hot, but nudges the cup toward her anyway. A cube of sugar hits the bottle of his glass with a small tink. Then another, and she stirs and stirs until it's completely dissolved. Taking a hefty sip from her own glass, she returns to their conversation. With such control over an ice quirk, or half-ice in regards to you, Todoroki-kun, your sole focus would be differentiating ice from snow. But you just said snow is ice, he comments, questions with his eyes. She sips, wagging her finger. Ice crystals. Yayorozu feels around for a different book and then turns a couple of pages, then turns the book around to Shoto for him to glance at. Look here. It's a series of macro images of snowflakes, each their own irregularly unique shape. Some are as intricately detailed as the stained glass of a cathedral. All symmetric, sharp points and visually appealing to the eye. Others are a bit more like the ones he's seen children draw, a bit rounder and softer in its design, forked at the end, like fingers splayed to the sun. One image in particular showcases a variety of flake formations, each differing in shape and size. No two snowflakes are ever the same. Snow and ice may seem similar in that they're both a form of water, Yayorozu starts, and as then Shoto notices she's pouring herself another serving of tea. She spoons another 2 cubes of sugar for him and herself. But they are just that, 2 different forms. Snow is frozen atmospheric vapor, where ice is a bit of frozen form of water. But that's just simply its technical definition. She snurs and stirs, and Shoto can't help but follow. The main differentiation between ice and snow is that of its formation. Ice can be formed naturally and by artificial means, whereas artificially produced snow cannot have the same effect as real snow. She pauses, sips. Or, in other words, you can make ice in the refrigerator, but you cannot make snow. Where does a fridge relate to this? He thinks, accidentally saying out loud, and Yayorozu sighs wistfully. I urge you to think of this figuratively. She draws a paper and pen. On the blank sheet, she doodles something, a water molecule, then a molecule of a structure of ice. At its core, everything is made of molecules. When those molecules come together, specific structures can be created, such as the ice crystals you found in the snow. Shoto knows this already. Think of yourself as a fridge. You cannot create snow, but you can create ice. The ice can be created in your image. She stares expectantly, and it's then Shoto realizes she's waiting for him to respond. Um, his head tilts suddenly. How do I think of myself as a fridge? Eijiro sighs again heavily. She reaches for his cup, pauses. Her chair scratches along the floor as she speaks. Pardon me, I need to excuse myself to the ladies' room. He watches her exit, brings his attention to his long abandoned tea, sips it, and grimaces. It's too sweet. Shoto doesn't usually break dorm curfew like this, or he does, but it's usually for a late night snack run, a cup of water, never to sneak into someone else's room. It's the night before the release for winter break, where everyone rests peacefully for the days ahead of them. Shoto toes quietly down the hall. He risks taking the elevator, scowls at the car when it dings upon arrival, and again when he reaches the fourth floor. The hall is quiet, and Shoto chances the sound of his not socked feet catching along the carpet. Too soon, he winds up in front of Eijiro's door. He readies a fist to knock and hesitates. He should just let Eijiro sleep, not wake him up for something so silly. His hand twitches then, and suddenly he's thinking of Eijiro's face when they found out they'd missed the first inklings of snow. He knocks. It's only a gentle rap of his knuckles, but in the quiet of the night, the sound echoes off the door as if it were midday. There's no answer at first, as expected, so Shoto tries the knob. It gives with a soft click, and Shoto shuffles his way inside of the wall of black. It takes a moment for his eyes to adjust to the dim curtain light hanging against the wall, flickering softly. Just below them lies Ijiro's face in his bed, snores muffled by that of his pillow, his hair a mess of red pooling about. He's careful to ease his weight beside Eijiro, the bed groaning quietly while Eijiro stirs. Shoto shakes him. Hey. And Eijiro stirs a final time before he pops up disoriented. Eijiro slurs, what? And blinks wearily. It's me, Shoto clarifies. Eijiro grunts, turns to face him and smiles. Oh, hey. I have something to snow you. Yeah? Eijiro sits up, or tries to, trading his pillow for Sho's thigh, and Shoto shifts further onto the bed to make it more comfortable for him. I know you really wanted it to snow, Shoto starts pointedly, glancing at the palm he opens on his other thigh. I can't do much to change the weather, but at least I can give you this. He sucks in a cool breath, willing his nerves to cooperate as frost begins to dance from his fingertips. They converge at his palm, a white cast of ice incongruent in its irregularity as it stems into its first semblance of its shape. It crackles and snaps, then blossoms outward like that of a branching tree, extending its reach as far as it's able to materialize. The cracking sounds as it adopts a line of symmetry to form a single large snowflake. An ice crystal, technically, but Shoto doesn't think too much about terminology when Eijiro's eyes go right at the sight of it. Is that for me? He asks. Shoto nods. He reaches out to touch it, but then hesitates. I don't want it to melt. It's okay. I can always make another, Shoto assures him. Eijiro nods at his lip, and Shoto coaxes him into taking the ice crystal, a murmur of it's cold, and giggles as the ice begins to melt in his palms. They watch in comfortable silence as the flake begins to shrink in a wake of heat, and once it's gone, Shoto makes another, and another, and another. Shoto would make a million snowflakes for him if he could, and they may not have fallen from the sky like some early Christmas miracle, but at least here, for just for tonight, they're the lucky ones.